Hi guys, today I'm going to be showing you my fall folio, and I made this using the November kit from Simon Says Stamp, their card kit. This one had some papers in it and this awesome stamp set, and I used a lot of the elements from the stamp set in my fall folio. So once this is done and I'm finished showing it to you, there's a tutorial right after it. So this run through is just a couple minutes, and then the tutorial will follow, so you can pause and go grab all your stuff and then come back and we'll start making this folio. So here on the outside, I'm showing you I made the outside out of the actual base of it is chipboard, and then I covered it just with a 6x6 pad of paper. I actually only used half of a 6x6 pad of paper because it was Midnight Haunting by Pebbles, and half the papers are fall like this and the other half are Halloween, and I did not want the Halloween papers, so I only used the fall papers. So here we go on the inside, and I'm using sentiments from the stamp set, and I just made like a little flap there in the beginning, so you open it up and it kind of gives it a little bit of a wow factor because it looks like, ooh, what's that? And then you open it up and oh my goodness, look at all this stuff. So we've got pumpkins from Queen and Company, 2x3 photo mats throughout. There's pockets, and these are tags that came in the kit, the card kit. That little tag is one that I made from a previous card kit, the one with the alcohol ink. These are little pumpkin clips that I got from my stash. I did do a lot of stash shopping in my room for this kit. So, and then at the bottom of each one of the tags, what I did was I just used scrap paper from my paper pad. So then when you open it all the way up, you've got pockets on either side and a waterfall in the middle. So each one of the pockets holds some goodies. The So Happy You Are family and the leaves are again from the stamp set, and the tag from the stamp set, and some more of those 2x3 photo mats, again with the scrap paper and some ribbon from my stash. And this paper is awesome. I love the way this came out. And on the other pocket, we have another one of the great sentiments and the leaves, which the leaves I stamped them using the Distress Oxides and then fussy cut them out because there is no dies. Sorry, can't think right now. There's no dies for this stamp set. I made for the bigger pocket, and I put the word fall on top. Another, I think that was a Graphics 45, the letters. And I made another like small folio to go inside of the big pocket. Here's where I'm showing you where the magnets are, and work great until you start putting a lot of stuff inside the book. And then I realized after I had started, putting like that little trifold in that pocket, that it just started to get too thick and the magnets didn't hold as well. So I made an extra little piece to hold it together for when I really start to stuff it. I want it to stay together. So I just made a little belly band and just a little trifold with some more 2x3 photo mats and a little spot in the middle where I stamped some more of those great leaves that came in the stamp set, and a place to journal. And then you just put the belly band over the top, just more decoration. It's not necessary, it's not going to open, but I thought it looked cute, so I made it. And it goes right there in that pocket. And then you've got your waterfall pages in the middle, and I made one, I want to say seven of those waterfall pages, and each one of them has a 2x3 photo mat and some more of the leaves that I fussy cut out, kind of to decorate each one of the pages. And then on the back of each page, you could also put more photo mats. So by the time you're done with this, you probably have enough space to put maybe like 20 plus photos in here, which is quite a lot. Or you can put something on the back of each one of those waterfall pages to journal, depending on what you wanted to do with your folio. So this is actually super simple to make, and I think it's a great little book for the fall. And so I'm just going to get started showing you how to make it. So you stand by and get all your stuff together and we'll get going. So here is some of the elements from the kit that I'm going to be using. This is the awesome stamp set and the sentiments, and then I'm showing you why I chose the size that I did, is for the photos that are going to go, because that only prints 2x3 photos. So we're going to get started with our binder. And this is just taking 2 pieces of craft cardstock and putting them together. I used score tape, so you want some nice strong score tape. And the size of this is 7¼ by 17¼ and that's going to be what we're going to use to put our, you'll see what we do. But it's basically how you make a bookbinder. So each one of these is going to be, to make the trifold, you're going to need 2 4½ by 6 inch, 2 1½ by 6 inch, and 1 3½ by 6 inch piece. And that is chipboard. And then at first I thought I wanted to tape it down, and then I realized glue is probably a better option. And I would suggest glue for you guys as well, because it gives you a little bit of time to move around your pages to where they will line up perfectly inside of your binder. So I'm just going to glue all these down, and you're going to glue your 4½ by 6 piece, and then this is one of the 1½ by 6, and you're going to leave a little space in between, and that's so that you can open and close your book. This is another one of the larger pieces, the 4½ by 6. You're going to glue that down with leave a little bit of space in between. Another 1½ by 6 inch piece with some space in between, and then the last is your 3½ by 6. And you're just going to attach that right there on the end with some space in between. And you want to leave enough space around it because those edges are all going to fold over onto your book. And now I'm just showing you the papers that I use, some of the papers that I use. And this is the Midnight Haunting by Pebbles. And I'm showing you the pages inside. See how half of them are Halloween and half of them are fall. So I basically just used all the fall papers. It's a great paper pack, absolutely wonderful. So put that aside, and now I'm going to show you how to, I was just giving it some time to dry. Now each one of your corners you're going to want to cut off. So I just used my little ruler, made a straight line. It doesn't have to be perfect because I'm going to show you how to fix it if it's not, you know. I always do my books this way because I'm too lazy to do those funky corners that people do. And so this is a way. I cover everything in layers. If you know me and you watch my videos, I love layers. So since I cover everything in layers, I'm not that picky about certain things because you're not going to see it anyways. So I take my score tape and I'm going to double it up because I have the 1/4 inch instead of the, I don't have any, I ran out of 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to use my bone folder, and I'm just going to kind of burnish it down really good because I want to make sure that it's not going to come up. And I'm also going to add a couple more pieces of score tape to the little corners because I want to make sure that everything attaches really well. So I realized that there wasn't any tape right there, so I went back and added a couple little pieces of tape to those corners. And then if you grab it from the middle and kind of start it along the edge there and then bring it down all together, you're less likely to end up with bubbles or uneven edges. So there's edge number 1, and magically edge number 2 is done. And now I'll show you how to do these sides as well. I don't think you need to sit through both. They're both exactly, each side is exactly the same, so I'm just showing you one short end and one long end. And pull your tape. And then you're going to do the same thing here that you did on the other one, which is kind of start it, and then fold it over together, and then use your bone folder to push it down. And then magically the other side will get done. And now see these little corners right here? So I just cut corners out of the same paper that you used to make your binder in the back, that long piece of paper, and I just glued it to each corner because each one of these pages is going to get covered anyways. So you're not even going to see those corners. Here's where I'm going to put my magnet, and my magnets, now if you have really thin ones, which they do make really thin ones, and I didn't have those, all I had was these ones are kind of thick. So what I'm doing is I taped down the first magnet where I wanted it, and then I added some tape. and I put my second magnet right on top of it, added some more tape to the back of that one, and then I closed the book. And that's so that I know where my magnets are going to go. So there they are. They're taped down with score tape right now, and I'm showing you that they're going to go behind paper. So you're not going to see them pretty much at all. But because my magnets are thick, this is how I kind of deal with that issue, is that I took my pencil and I drew around my magnet, and then I took my craft knife and I started kind of digging out a space for the magnet to kind of sit in so that it's a little more flush. And for the top cover, I went almost through to the front, but not all the way through. For the second magnet, I went all the way through because I'm going to cover it up anyway, so you won't see the hole that I made for the second magnet. But there's a little space. I'm going to add some glue in there and then stick my magnet in there. I had to make sure it was facing the right way up. And then I'll let that side dry, and then I will work on the other side. So with that one, I'm moving all my tape out of the way that was on there, and I'm just going to draw around that with my pencil and showing you how I just go all the way. This one I go all the way through to a hole all the way through the cover of this page. There it is. So that's where my second magnet will go. So now I'm just going to cover up. Now I cover twice. I cover with the same paper that I used, the same craft paper that I used on the front of the book, and I'm just finishing it off on the inside so that way they all match before I start doing my layers on the inside. And then I glue everything down, so then I just kind of go back and double check and make sure that all of my my edges are, that they're sealed up really well. So I'm just kind of speed through this because this is just basic gluing and cutting. And each one of these pieces of craft cardstock on the inside are cut the exact same size as your chipboard, because you're not trying to make layers here, you're trying to cover it, so you don't want to make, you don't want it to be smaller than the size of your chipboard that it's covering. The next layer, however, is that paper off to the side there. I cut those. That did not come from the 6x6 pad. That is a 12x12 piece of fall paper that I had laying around in my stash. I didn't want to use up any of the pretty paper in the back because you're not going to see very much of it. So I wanted to just grab like a fall, kind of the same color scheme paper from my stash, since it's just a background layer that you don't really get to see that much of. So I didn't want to waste any of my good 6x6 paper on the background. So that's the finished covered book. So here's your whole book covered with just the craft, and then next is to start decorating it. Make sure all your edges are together, and I'm going to put my magnet in, and this is where they would close together. So now I'm just going to add this using tape for this part, and here's my first set of layers that are going down. So once I have these placed, then it'll be time to start working on the cover. At least I'm pretty sure that's what I do next, is the cover. So I did cut each one of these little panels slightly smaller than the chipboard that it's sitting on. So that way I have my, my layers that I love. So now I'm going to start working on the front cover. And I'm just going to pick some paper from my pack. And you're basically watching me figure this out as I go. I didn't have a plan. I just grabbed stuff and started making things and going through my stash and adding. This actual video actually went on a heck of a lot longer than this, but I cut out all that part where I'm trying to where I'm shopping in my room trying to figure out where I want stuff and what I have. And it actually took me a couple days to make this because I would have an idea and I want this, and then it would take me forever looking. I'm like, I know I have this in my room somewhere. And I would tear my room apart until I found it. So this is one of the papers from the card kit. And I wanted a little pop of color on the front. So I made the orange paper is layer number 1 and the black paper is layer number 2. So the orange paper is slightly smaller than the cover, and the black paper is slightly smaller than the orange paper. I'm just trying to make sure I get it centered. Somehow I always manage to make stuff crooked, even when I even specifically went out and bought a T-square ruler so that I wouldn't make everything crooked, and it still happens. But it's okay. This book is for me, so it can be crooked. My tape gun and we're not having a good day right now. So now we're going to layer this one on top of the orange one. See where I just a little pop of color. Didn't want like glaring orange out there. I just wanted a little bit. So I think I'm going to cover my inner paper, my inner one, so that way I can make sure that magnet doesn't fall out. So I'm going to take that same orange and I'm going to cut it down to fit. So it's going to be slightly smaller than that inner panel, which was 3.5 by 6. So I probably did like 3.25 by 5 3/4. I'm going to attach that. And then I'm going to pick another paper from the matte stack right there. So now you can see what it looked like when I had the magnet covered, and now I can close it and open it without the magnet coming out every time I close the lid. So this pretty leaves, and I'm going to cut that down. I'm going to guess that this one was 3 by 5.5, slightly smaller. So it might be, I might be a little bit off, but you guys do whatever sizes make you happy. Usually I do them in like quarters, but I think this one I did in eighths when I did my stacks, my layers. And there it is. So now I've come back after fussy cutting and stamping all the leaves that were in the kit, almost all of them, not every single leaf, but that were on that stamp set. I also cut all of my layers to finish covering the sides and the back of my book, and I'm just going to attach those. Did I say how much I love this paper? I think it is so pretty. And I'm just using black as my bottom layer, and then kind of centering them right in each one of the sides. And now the back, we'll do some more of the orange. I think this uses up pretty much all of the orange that came in the kit. And then my pattern paper on top of that. And then we're going to work on the cover. As you can see, I've already pre-cut everything, trying to make it go a little bit quicker. And I did the family is everything, and I cut out some corners using some glitter, fall glitter paper. I do not know where I got the glitter paper from, but it was not Simon Says stamp, and it is kind of supposed to be shed free, but it does shed a little bit. Here is the pumpkin from Queen and Company, and I'm just going to set that there because I took the paper off like a goof. I didn't want to place them until I was sure where the pumpkins were going to go, so I didn't want to put the front sentiment on until I got my pumpkins where where they needed to fit, and then I'll flip it over and put it where it's supposed to go. So I basically just reversed the two pumpkins. So inside of one and outside of the other. And then these, if you can see up in the corner right there, there's a die. It's a Sizzix die. And I just wanted the swirlies, so it kind of looked like those tendrils that come off of a pumpkin. It took me forever to find that die, by the way. It was another one of those, I know I have you somewhere. I know you're here. I have to find you. So it took me forever. And now I'm just kind of holding that other pumpkin in place and setting down the pieces in the middle, because this is where my shaker bit's going to go. So this is what comes in the kit from Queen & Company. So I'm just going to add my little foam piece. And then I'm going to add some more of the little tendrils on top. I basically just ripped the flower off of the middle. And then I'm going to add a foam square to the back of the top of that pumpkin. And then we're going to put our stuff inside. So these are some little stars that came in the actual kit. These are some fall sequins that I had, and then I found this in my stash. There's some gold flakes that looked really pretty. And then I'm just going to add my acetate to the top. After I stop, it's static. Is picking up all the little gold flakes and taking them everywhere. And then I'm just going to glue my top piece on, and there is my shaker on the cover. I thought that would look so cute. Now I'm just going to add my sentiment right above it, and a couple of the leaves from the these are the ones that I did the Distress Oxide and Fussy Cutout. So I'm just going to throw a couple of those on, and the cover is complete. Just going to fluff up the little tendrils a little bit so they stick up. Now we'll start on the inside. So this front flap here, we want to make a pocket and that piece right there. It's like a flap on a flap. We also have our pocket, and you're going to make two of these small pockets, and these are 3 by 4.5, and they're scored at 1/2 inch on 3 sides. Add your score tape, and then add it to your side right there. Now I messed up here, and I should have put the flap on first, because the flap goes under the pocket. That little piece on top is some ephemera that I had from my stash, and I just matted it on some black cardstock and then popped it up with some foam adhesive. And now I'm going to place the flap on. That flap measures 3.5 by 5 3/4, and then I scored 1/2 inch off of the side. Add a couple of pieces of score tape to it, and then stick it kind of under, you see under the pocket there, my big old head in the way as usual. And now you can see I also have decorated both front and back of that flap. So I have my sentiment on the top. That wreath is a Jolie's wreath that I've had in my stash forever. On the inside of the flap, I have a 2 by 3 mat, photo mat, and another pumpkin that I cut out from that same die that I used for the cover. So now we're going to start working on the inside, and I've already pre-cut and stamped and embossed all of this stuff, so you don't have to sit through it all. But basically that pocket right there is one for the big side, which is where the fall is. That's the big side. And the large pocket is 5.5 inches long by 3 inches tall, and it's scored at 1/2 inch all the way around. And then we're just like we did on the flap page, we're just going to put fold over 3 sides and put score tape. And a little tip when you're doing your pockets, for me, I found it's a lot easier to tape down your the long part on the bottom last. So that way when you put stuff inside the pocket, it doesn't get caught on that large flap right there, if that makes sense. So now I'm just going to line it up on my page. And this is like super easy way for you to dress up anything. You can do this in cards, you can do this on your books, your folios, everything. It's just add a pocket and stuff some little ephemera in there, and it just makes it so much pretty. I took one of the sentiments that I heat embossed with the white embossing powder, and I matted that on a black cardstock to put on the large pocket. The folio, the size of the folio is 10 1/4 by 4, and I scored it at 3 3/8 and 6 7/8. And that was so that they would be even, the sides would be even. Then I just decorated it the same way as everything else, just adding, layers of, basically when I made that, it was a lot of my scraps, a lot of scrap pieces from this 6x6 Midnight Haunting paper pack. So I'm going to add my pocket to the other side, and this pocket is the 3 by 4.5, scored at 1/2 inch all the way around, 3 sides. Same thing that we did for the other two. We're just going to add it to the other smaller page, inside smaller page. Same way we did the other one, and then we're gonna, the So Happy You Are Family, we're just gonna adhere that to the front of it. These sentiments in the stamp set are just so beautiful. Another one of the tags from the Simon Says Stamp card kit with some more 2 by 3 matte photo mats, and another one of my little pumpkin fasteners, and that just tucks right into that pocket. So now we're going to work on the waterfall page, and the paper pack that I used for this is single-sided. It's white on the other side, but I did not want white on the back, so each one of these I had to cut twice, and then I just adhered them together so that there was pattern on both sides. Each one of the waterfall papers is 3 inches tall by 4 1/4 wide, and then the tall side you're going to score 1/2 inch on the top, and that's where you're going to add your score tape, is to the top. And as long as you get the first one straight, the rest of the waterfall is pretty easy. So you just line up each one of your pages, go right at the bottom of the last, right where you scored it. You'll see right now when I do it. It's easier, much easier to see than to explain. So once you get your score tape on, you're just going to line up each one of your pages. Is going to go right underneath the other one, and it's easy to see on this because of the pattern paper. So I'm just going to kind of speed up through it. I kept the first two at normals, like slower speed, and now I'm just going to kind of buzz through it so you don't have to sit and watch me do this all day. And then after this, I'm going to just add all of my photo mats, and each one of the photo mats is 2 3/8 by 3 3/8. And I have a little photo corner chomper that I use to make my mats. So each one of the little pattern paper inside of the mat is a 2 by 3. So that's basically exactly where the photo is going to go, is where you see the pattern paper on each one of the photo mats. I'm also going to take some of the leaves that I cut out, because I fussy cut out way too many leaves. And so I'm also going to use those to just kind of decorate each one of my waterfall pages. So here I'm just going to add all my little mats. And again, you can either put your place to journal on the back of each one of these waterfall pages, or you can just double the number of mats that you use. So you would end up with, I think since there's 7 of those waterfall pages, you'd end up with 14 photos just in the middle alone. And then depending on what you did on the sides, you could have even more because you can always just do more waterfalls if you don't want pockets. And then you can really have a lot of pictures. So my plans for this book are to fill it full of all of the photos that I've been taking throughout this fall season, and my family photos and my pumpkin patch photos and the neighborhood photos and all the stuff is going to go into this little book for me. And let me just finish adding up the last of my leaves. Coming up, I do have a bunch more videos, more tutorials coming. Finally over this sickness, so I can actually talk again. And I will be back very soon with starting some, uh, dare I say, Christmas stuff. So you guys have a fabulous week, and I will see you again real soon. Thanks so much for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. Have a great week. Bye bye.